recognize these words? Everyone? Great, great. So can anyone tell me what a carbohydrate is? Rachel? That's correct. It is a starch. And why do we have to watch our carbohydrates? That's right, Rachel. Great, great job. What types of food have carbohydrates in them, Jillian? Spaghetti, noodles. That's right. What else? Potatoes. Great, good job. Okay, let's move on to lipids. What is a more simplified term for what a lipid is? Rachel again? That's correct, yes. And what else can be involved in a lipid? What else do we may not think of as being? That's right, yes. Okay, so and what types of food is lipid in?
Bacon.
Bacon, that's right.
Oil.
Grease, oil, avocados, and there are healthy fats too. I'm not saying that these are all bad at all. There are healthy fats, including avocados and olive oil and things like that that are good. So proteins. Anybody know what proteins are? Rachel? Julia? Healthy stuff? Yes. So what type of food would have a protein in it? Apples? Not quite. Those are going to be more simple sugars. Steak? Yes, that's very good. And Rachel, what else? No. A granola bar? Yes, it does have protein in it. And nucleic acids, what can we, what's familiar about nucleic acids?
Those are in your DNA.
Those are in your DNA, that's correct. So we're going to look at a couple of these things today, but we're going to watch a short video about fat.
Francis is known for his discovery, along with Jim Watson, of the structure of the DNA.
Does anybody know his name? This is Mr. Crick he discovered DNA along with James Watson back in the 1950s. You guys will have to know this person. He is now passed away, but Mr. Watson's still alive. We're going to move on with him later in the year, but I just wanted to point you out this person and what he's known for.
He would occasionally indulge in a double bacon cheeseburger from Jack in the Box, and this ultimate cheeseburger contains more than 1,000 calories, 62% body fat alone. And since the requirement for an average person is only 2,000, this would be more than half your daily requirement, not counting the French fries and the Coke that he actually had on his table with him. And that would take you out for the day, that's for sure. Now, food's a mixture of protein, carbohydrate, and fat. And we need the energy from these things to live on a daily basis, but we may not need all of it. And I'm going to take you on a journey as we take a bite of food and watch as it goes through our bodies from the outside to the inside and what happens to it. And it goes through a series of scripted events. Here's a bite of food that through chewing is broken up, and then through biochemical events begins to be further processed in our bodies. Here it is in our stomach, where it's beginning to break up into its components. The little yellow droplets there are lipids that we're going to track in more detail. And you'll see that these begin to break up into smaller components through biochemical action. And these will drift from our stomach into the intestine, where absorption of nutrients occurs. And here are the microvilli in the intestine that take the fat from the outside, repackage it on the inside into something called chylomicrons, which travel through the lymphatics, ultimately to the bloodstream, where this packaged fat now is delivered to tissues such as the muscle, where it can be used to burn energy, as is shown here, or the excess that is not burned. Remember the fat equation. The excess will be delivered and stored in adipose tissue. This shows some cells there, and our chylomicron droplet delivering the excess energy where it's going to be stored in fat.
Okay, so based on that video, what happens to fat that is not used for energy? here have got a lot going on with them. There's going to be a lot of molecules, and that's why they call them complex carbohydrates. And the larger they are, like this carbohydrate here, the harder they are going to be to break down, which is going to convert into sugar. And sugar also may get stored into fat as well if it can't be used for energy. Basically, the lipids and the carbs that cannot be used for energy will be stored. And too much, of course, is going to turn into adipose. And of course, you've got your nucleic acids, which is in every single thing of life, our DNA and RNA. And then our proteins up here, you see those little swirlies. And then the lipids are composed of a bilayer sheet. What is a carbohydrate? It's any of the various neutral compounds of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen as sugars, starches, and cellulose, which we've already talked about, most of which are formed by the green plants. Does anybody know how plants form energy? The word? Rachel. Photosynthesis, that's correct, yes. And which constitute a major class of animal foods. So the plants create carbs, we eat the carbs. What is a lipid? It's any one of the various substances that contain fat and that are important parts of living cells. They're insoluble in water, and because of this phospholipid bilayer, it's harder for them to permeate through the cell barriers. And then it says, hey guys, it looks like I have a water cut because he's insoluble in water. So we're going to kick that guy out of the phospholipid bilayer. What are proteins? It's any of the numerous naturally occurring, extremely complex substances that consist of amino acids. Have anybody ever heard amino acids are the building blocks of protein? That is correct. That's basically what proteins are. They contain elements of carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and sulfur, and they are essential to all living cells, and they are synthesized from raw materials by plants, again by photosynthesis, and used as separate amino acids by animals. So we eat the protein, plants create the protein. We see a pattern of these molecules here. And this is a chicken wrap. So when we eat the chicken wrap, it goes into our stomachs, gets converted into protein for our use. And this is the structure of protein here. We're going to get more into this later on, but that's the basic structure. There's 4 structures of the protein molecules. So nucleic acids, basically it's your DNA and RNA, and it's based on the pyrimidine bases, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine, and uracil for RNA. Those are the nucleotides, and then they have a phosphate group as well. So they're bound together by phosphate and sugar, and then these pyrimidine bases here, and those are your nucleic acid structures. So, you guys taking notes? Yes, great. And this is just a little joke here. It says, hey ligase, what you been up to? And this is a lipid here. And he says, just making ends meet, because ligase is a protein that forms DNA. So why are these little guys so important? Have you been noticing that I've been saying that they are important to all of life's
Building blocks.
They're the building blocks of life. They're the most important compounds to our life. And that's basically all I'm going to introduce to you today. We're going to break into groups and look at these little guys more in depth. So let's go ahead and start.